I myself was into drugs, deep into drugs back in the 80s, and I know how hard it is to get out of it, and then to become swayed.
Arnel Pineda has dealt with pressure before, but this time, it felt different. After a tough night on one of the biggest stages in the world, he turned to social media and did something most artists wouldn't dare. He opened up, he did something online that most artists wouldn't even think of. He let out his doubts, talked about how tired he was, and asked a question that shocked everyone. Was it time to leave the journey? This wasn't a stunt, it was raw, real, and very honest. What came after his words and the what fans said was a turning point that would shift everything. How pain made a star. Arnel Pineda was born on September 5, 1967, at St. Luke's Hospital, Judith. He is the oldest of 4 children and works at the Thaddeus Diagnostic Clinic in Tandog, Manila. Taking on the role of the big brother who sets the rules for life, it wasn't easy for him to grow up, but it was a little easier when his mother Josefina, whom he lovingly called Emma the Mama, was still around, Kapampangan. She was the most important person in their lives. Even when things were tough, my family was strong-willed, brave, and honest to the core. Was determined to give her children a good start in life. She enrolled Arnel in a Catholic school because they thought that an education based on the church was still the best choice in the Philippines. Didn't let him down. He was a smart kid who went to the same elementary school as his younger brother's teachers. Would often compare them, but the boys didn't mind because they were proud of the Arnel family was outside of school, and Arnel was everywhere. He sang in the school glee club, played with the Randala troupe, and sang at school events whenever he could. He had the chance. He sang a Karen Carpenter song on one of those shows. Many people were confused about why he picked a woman's song, but for Arnel, it made sense because his mother was a huge fan of Carpenter's. Singing their songs around the house, that music had got deep inside of him. You could see his range and raw talent even back then. He wasn't just he knew every note of the song he was singing before he even finished elementary school. It wasn't on the quiz show that Arnel got his first taste of national fame, it was as a show for his school. He sang Celeste Legaspi's Ganakita Kamahal. It was a small but important moment when he made his debut on national TV. One and just the start, but just when things were going well, life hit. Arnel's mother died after a long illness in the last few years of junior high. Heart disease for a long time, and that loss changed everything. The hospital and funeral costs took away what little money the family had left. Collapsed from the stress of it all, they could no longer afford school and dropped out. The siblings were sent to live with different people after being split up from their parents. What Arnel could to help his family, he did. He stopped by to see them whenever he could. But they didn't see each other much for years. When Arnel was a teenager, he stayed with friends when they had extra space or slept in public parks. He went to school as long as he could, but he had to quit in order to stay alive. Came first, and he did any job he could find to make enough money to eat. In an interview he admitted that those were dark times for him and that he turned to drugs and alcohol. He felt so hopeless that he said he wished he was dead at one point. But even though he was in a lot of pain, he kept going. He wasn't sure when he would push, but he felt like something bigger was waiting for him to sing through the pain. In 1982, when he was only 15, Arnel Pineda entered as the lead singer of a Filipino band called Ahos. She was in the spotlight a lot. He brought his brother to live with him right away, which was a big move for someone so young. But it was hard for them to live there. They shared a room in what was basically a converted warehouse with roaches, rats, and mosquitoes, but for Arnel, it was a step up after everything he'd been through. Just having a place to live and a chance to sing felt like a big step forward. He began performing at places that helped him feel better about himself, like Shocky's Pizza on Taft Street in Manila soon after. On small stages in 1986, some of the guys from Ahos got back together and they started a new band called Amo that same year and won a national band contest called Rock Wars. Around this time, Arnel, it looked like the music dream was finally taking off. Also became a dad when he was only 20 years old. He got married later, and he had another child, but neither of his relationships lasted. He even tried to go solo at one point, but it wasn't his time yet. In 1988, Amo made in yet another big step forward. They won the Yamaha World Band Explosion in the Philippines. Getting into the Hong Kong finals, things were going well, but then everything was thrown off when they did Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, Raps City in the Philippines to win, but in the finals, they had to sing the same original song they had performed at home because Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't their own. They were still disqualified. The band didn't give up. In 1989, they opened for Robert Palmer and played club shows. Quezon City, Olongapo, Makati is one of their favorite places to play gigs all over the country. Was California Jam in Olongapo a club that a lot of U.S. military people liked? Living nearby by 1990, Arnel and some AMO members formed a new group. They called it Intensity 5 and tried again with the Yamaha World Band Explosion. This time, Arnel won Best Singer, and the band came in first. Runner-up that same year, things began to change as 5 original members left. Their lead singer Ulysses Ablang and Arnel formed a new band called New Age. It took place just before Amo released their only album, Anunay na Amo. Had a radio hit with the song Running Away. The rest of Amo went on to form another band called Boss Band. Arnold and New Age began playing regularly at a place called Fire and It Rained in Manila in 1991, which was a big turning point. During one of their shows in Manila, a talent agent saw Arnel and his band and offered them the chance to work with Move to Hong Kong to perform at a famous restaurant called Grammys, so they packed up and went to Hong Kong, where they worked hard to perform 6 nights a week from Tuesday through Sunday for a number of years. But in 1994, after the breakup, Arnel had to deal with a new problem. His health got worse, and it almost got worse. He lost his voice and went back to the Philippines to rest and get better for 6 months. For months, he hardly sang, but slowly, his voice came back, and so did his fighting. After going back to Hong Kong, he got right back to performing. By 1998, the owner of a restaurant and nightclub with a scary theme saw an opening. Igers asked his band, New Age, to play regularly, and they leaned into the change their brand for the gig by dressing up as skeletons and adopting a new Rolling Bones, is the name of the band that built Ojals. Rise. In 1999, Arnel Pineda had a big event. He caught the attention of he worked for Warner Brothers Records and was based abroad at the time. But he would fly back to the Philippines during his days off to record his first album by himself. It was called Arnel Pina. A self-titled album has 10 original songs, most of which lean into slow, sad ballads that made you feel things, even though there were also a few upbeat songs in the mix. One even had a Latin feel to it. The phrase, Iyak Karen, which means, you will cry too, went viral all over Asia. As a karaoke favorite, another song called Shang, which means, too bad, was always playing. Arnel helped make the album, which made it even more personal. Even though he was writing and arranging some of the songs himself, he still performed. In 2001, he kept playing live music with his longtime band New Age, where he kept rocking the stage. He added another layer to his journey when he worked with the well-known Filipino band South Border and sang on one of their songs. It was from their album The Way We Do, and it was called Looking Glass. He put it on putting together a new band with a different sound. They came up with the name 9mm and quickly became popular. Became popular in the area and played regular sets at big venues like the Hard Rock Cafe in Makati, and then the next year the band went on tour around the world, securing a 3-month job at the edge of Lon Kai Fong, one of Hong Kong's most popular. By 2004, things had changed again in 3 of Arnel's former nightlife districts. His old New Age bandmates got back together with him, and this time they added a female lead Singer to share that the group changed its name to Most Wanted and they hit the ground running. At the Cavern Club, they did marathon sets for 3 to 4 hours every night, 6 days a week. In Hong Kong, and even on Sundays, which are their only day off, they were still going to events for the Filipino community to do. That grind never stopped. When everything changed for Arnel Pineda was at a crossroads again in 2006, after years of he worked hard in the music business and got a boost from a well-known Filipino talent manager and TV director named Bert De Leon. That little boost was all it took for Arnel to pack his bags and move back to the Philippines with his musical partner and friend Monet Kahipi, and Emil got together and started a new band called The Zoo. The band has McCoy Alcantara on drums, Edgar Mendoza on keys, and Bondoc on bass. When The Zoo signed with Del Leon's Sundance Entertainment Corporation, they were lighting up clubs by the end of that year. Every night, all over Manila and Olongapo, they worked non-stop for 3 to 5 hours. To become well-known by the next year, Arnel and The Zoo had made a name for themselves by covering old rock bands, especially Journey. One of their biggest fans, Noel Gomez, started putting videos of their shows on YouTube. No one saw that coming. Neil Schon, Journey's first guitarist, was watching from halfway around the world as their lead singer was in trouble. In 2006, singer Steve Algaray quit, and the band was looking for a new one. Neil asked Gomez to connect him with Arnel, who quickly became the new frontman. The singer didn't pay much attention to it because he thought it was just another cold offer in the music business. Neil Schon wasn't just a fan, he was giving Arnel a chance to try out. Arkells was on for one of the biggest rock bands ever once it hit them. That audition wasn't easy on the first flight to San Francisco. It's not easy to get a US visa from the Philippines, but luck was on my side. The person at the embassy who gave Arnel his visa had seen him. When I remembered how to perform for him, everything started to fall into place like the plot of a movie. After a week of tough auditions, Arnel Pineda was chosen as the lead singer of Journey, but even though they had their dream job, it was February 2008 in Chile when he played his first show with the band. Arnel was trying to talk himself out of going backstage. He was ready to quit before he even started, but the band didn't let him. They pushed him forward, and when he finally got to the stage, the crowd went crazy. People were crazy about how much he sounded like Steve Perry's famous original lead singer, and after that, everything changed. One night he was playing in small clubs, and the next he was in charge of huge stadiums. With 30,000 fans, Arnel didn't just make it through, he thrived. He quickly got he was used to being on stage, but the strange feeling never went away, even years later. He would say that being a part of Jury still felt like a dream. Change his life in ways he never thought possible by the time the journey was over. 13th year with Arnel. In charge, the band's influence had only grown. Even so, their most famous song, Don't Stop Believin', had found new life. Didn't get much attention when it came out in 1981, but it slowly became a legacy. Back then, Rolling Stone didn't even mention it in their review of the Escape album. But things have changed since then. 2010 saw a huge rise in the popularity of a cover of Don't Stop Believin' to the popular TV show Glee. That version made it all the way to number 4 on the US charts. All of a sudden had a new generation singing a song that their parents had written. Grew up with. Arnel's story was also in the news at that time. Folks were amazed at how much his voice sounded like Perry's, and the life he brought to the band made Jury feel like a whole new person. New wave of momentum, the song's comeback through Glee and its journey was seen by a whole new generation at the end of The Sopranos. The kids were singing along even though they had never heard the name before. In simple terms, Bassett Ross Valerie said that Journey's music stayed alive because it was passed down from generation to generation, but these pop culture moments did more than that. Now students who didn't grow up with the band were singing every word like there was one thing that was clear: they had known them for a long time. This band, this voice, and that classic song aren't going anywhere. After a rough night on stage at Pineda, who works as a rock star in Rio, wrote everything on Instagram. "Not gonna lie, he was tired, stressed out, and really wondering if he should keep going with it. Wasn't just a bad show on the journey, everything was getting worse. The stress, the never-ending work, and the weight of trying to live up to what's impossible expectations for months had been high for Pina and the rest of the journey. Tour city after city, night after night. Anybody can get tired from that schedule, and for Arnel, it got to him quickly. He admitted that his body was giving him a lot of trouble from all the traveling, back-to-back shows, and lack of rest. In the past, Rock Solid's voice had grown tired, and Rock in Rio were the moment everything came to a head. He had to deal with technical issues, vocal fatigue, and the kind of emotional press behind the bright lights that most people don't see. He later talked about how hard that night hit him. He talked about what it means to be Jury's lead singer, both physically and mentally. He puts his whole heart and soul into every note, not just singing. He's still his own harshest critic, even small mistakes hurt him a lot. Even after singing the same song 100 times and fans always comparing him to Steve Perry, always felt like someone was after him, no matter how hard he tried. He wasn't afraid of being criticized, but he did wait for people to point out where he fell short. Either he put up a video of that Rio show where he was having trouble hitting notes during "Don't Stop Believing" because of broken earbuds, then in a Facebook post, he thanked fans for their support and talked about how sad he was because he knew he had let them down. He said it was crazy how a one-night stand could damage him so much. All the good things he had done, and it had to happen here of all places. Rock in Rio, but what made him stand out was how open he was with his fans. He told them that if they really wanted him to leave Journey, he would step down. If 1 million people voted go, he would leave. For real, he wasn't being dramatic. He was worn out, hurt, and sick of fighting. His place, but the comments kept coming in, this time full of love. Fans gathered around him and told him not to let the haters bother him. Told him that every artist has bad nights, but real fans remember that they told him to stay and keep going because the fans didn't know this, but the heart he brings to the stage is still important. The guys in Journey didn't hold back when they had to defend their front last night. Dean Castanovo, the drummer for singer Arnel Pineda, shut down the anger, and he stood firmly by Arnel's side, pointing out that Arnel has put everything he had into his performances for years, even when he was tired. Dean reminded fans that his job comes with a lot of stress and ups and downs. That a voice isn't a machine, but a living thing that can be played. Some nights it soars, other nights it struggles, and that's not someone else's fault. Right, he praised Arnel's kindness, strength, and humility, and then he got critics were called out by name and told to back off because Arnel doesn't just play with him, he's like family. Behind the scenes, there was more going on. In an earlier interview with Ultimate Classic Rock than people thought, Dean said that Arnel had been having trouble with his voice for more than 10 years and no one knew about it. A vocal coach put him in touch with one time, and all they had to do was turn down the stage volume. Everything had changed. Dean was shocked. For 14 years, Arnel had been not speaking or even asking for help or a different sound setup. They kept going. Then a new sound guy came in. It all changed when a guy named Tom came along. Dean said that Arnel sounded like a whole new person, and after 15 shows, every night his voice was strong and steady. Keyboardist for the band for a long time, Jonathan Kay, also showed his support online, saying thanks to Arnel for 16 years with the band and letting him know he's not going anywhere was said in public, which meant a lot, especially when Arnel was getting a lot of flack. Neil Schon took the heat. As a result, the band's first guitarist stepped in to fix the sound. Neil said that Avenged Sevenfold beat the headliners at the Rock in Rio show. He said that the people who were in charge of the festival's sound system that night were to blame for things not going as planned. And cut down Jury's sound so much that the crowd couldn't even hear them, Neil showed a video clip he called out what he thought was fake outrage and showed that the crowd was still having a good time. He called the blogs that said bad things about Arnel, bought and paid for, were upset and told Arnel not to listen to any of it. The trouble didn't end there, though. Neil said no when asked if Jury's own sound guy could have done something. Told them that sound equipment can be locked and protected with a password. When someone wondered why Avenged Sevenfold wasn't the main act instead of Journey, Neil said it was because of politics, and Avenged Sevenfold hasn't replied to some fans said that there wasn't much of a connection between the two bands and that they didn't seem to have the same vibe. Sound problems that made people wonder even more. Arnel finally spoke out in an Instagram video. He said he was sorry for any trouble he may have caused Journey fans and admitted that the band wasn't perfect and things were a mess, but they made everyone aware of how hard things are in the world right now. He said that everyone has hard times, so he waited a moment before speaking up. The main idea of his message was to get his thoughts together again. The idea that there is still good in the world, even when things are going badly. He thanked his fans, who backed him, saying it was very humbling, wasn't what he was looking for pity or praise, he was just trying to connect with people who might also be going through hard times. He's been through online, pointing out that the hate is based on racism and personal. Even though he's been getting hit since 2007, he still gets up every time. There are lots of nice people ready to help him get back on his feet. Send him support and let him know he's not alone, that's what he said. Says what keeps him going, and the experience made him remember that there is still a lot of good in the world, even though people keep criticizing him. Used someone's flaws to get what you want will always come back, they said. The universe sees it all, and for those who still believe they can chase there, he told me that if I ever get shot, I shouldn't feel bad about it. Love it with all your heart, and make sure the people around you are too. Strong enough to lift you when you can't do it all by yourself. Arnel's love for Journey has caused a lot of stress, backlash, and close attention. Even after 17 years, he's still shocked that he gets to be the one. Singing for the band made him famous all over the world, but still, it's made him a target in some of the worst places on the internet. He's still here, and he's not leaving yet. Show why everyone thought he was jailed. A crazy rumor spread quickly online about Arnel Pineda, the lead Journey singer, shocked fans when a YouTube video said he had been given a life sentence in prison.